Good morning, everybody. Welcome to City Hall. We are having a very informal meeting with Mr. James Hull, who is the owner and managing principal of Hull Property Group, who has purchased our Leigh Mall, our local mall here in Columbus. He also has John Moharan here with him as Vice President for Government Relations, and Rob Johnson. Is that right, Rob? Correct. I just met Rob. I want to make sure I got his name right. But Mr. Hull and his organization, Hull Group is a full-service retail real estate company, and they're headquartered in Augusta, Georgia. They were founded in 1977, and Mr. Hull and the company has grown to be one of the largest privately owned retail real estate companies in the U.S., with an owned portfolio of in excess of 16 million square feet. If you look at their website, his mission is to try to facilitate a transformational improvement to the enclosed mall and surrounding retail. He has been doing this throughout the country and has been very successful. I've gotten to know Mr. Hull and his team since I came into office, and the one thing they keep saying to me is they want to be a part of the community. They want to help find ways to bring the type of retail to Columbus that we can. They want to also try to help local businesses who might like to position themselves within the Leigh Mall area. He is the equivalent, or has been and maybe again the equivalent of the head of the IHL board here in Mississippi for the state of Georgia. He has been very philanthropic with universities throughout the area of Georgia. And so we are very excited to have him in Columbus and his team. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Hull. We've got some images too of some of their ideas for the mall, but I'm going to turn it over to him, and then we're going to let y'all just ask questions and talk to him and let him know what your thoughts and ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that very greatly, and you are a friend, and you have induced us to a lot of these things we're doing, and you and the council, and we're confident that we'll have a successful conclusion. I do want to address the idea of doing things for the city and doing things for potential retailers. We're unfortunately or fortunately, I don't know, but we're not here philanthropically, and it's not a philanthropic mission. We're here because we think it's in our best economic interest, and that's a real curious thing that, the old axiom, the more you can give, the more you get, and we're all motivated to, for ourselves and to improve ourselves. It just so happens that we found if you're a good steward of a property, that's how you make the most money. So I did want to clear it up. We're not here under any philanthropic, but we're here to feather our own nest. But having said that, we think our interests align perfectly, and we've got a property. I've got some notes here. Why don't I go through this real briefly, and then we can talk about things. But we purchased the property in 2019. We saw it as a redevelopment opportunity. We love the ground, the location of the ground. We like the retail corridor along Highway 45. It's a tight corridor, and from a regional perspective, we think we were in the right location with the best property. Interestingly, the property serves as a gateway to the retail corridor, and that's important because the community does want to attract regional shoppers, because you don't want to pay for everything. You want to leverage their expenditures and develop your tax base. So it's an important property, not because we own it. It's important to the community because it's a gateway property, and it needs to tell a compelling and an inviting story, because a lot of people, when they get here, people are very visual, and if that property is a very success and it looks and feels a certain way, which it should be able to do, then that's how they think Columbus is. property's successful, it looks successful, well, the community's successful. So what I've found, because, I might be the oldest guy in this room here, that people, give you too little credit, in your life. They underestimate you, and then all of a sudden time, they overestimate you. They give you too much credit. Well, they were never right. It weren't right giving you too little, not giving you too much. So, having this property that looks and feels the right way sets a psychological tone in the region, and that's an important thing. The property, when we bought it, was a failed property. Well, we buy a lot of failed properties. That's the business we're in. We're in the failed property business, and we have a certain program, because we ain't that smart, okay? But we have a programmatic approach, and we're very disciplined. We're not going to let the wrong tenant. We think very highly of this property. We think very highly of Columbus, and we think that this is a great opportunity for people to have businesses and to succeed. And if you're not on that boat, we don't want to travel with you. So you're not going to come on our property unless you're the right kind of property tenant. You can be fully merchandised, that you can have a good financial chance to succeed. You can't be that undercapitalized. Now, what's happened in our business relative to that programmatic approach is that the national retailers have pulled back on their expansion programs. So now some of the space, and we're going to have a number of national retailers. Our base is going to be national retailers, and we got a lot of their names up there. But we also are interested, and the mayor spoke to this, in facilitating the needs or the dreams or the vision or the goals of local businesses. And we have a co-investment program, not a problem. It's always, money's a problem, right? But it's very fungible, and this program provides that if they have the right idea or they have a passion, we're really looking for a passion. They've got a passion. They want to be the best chef, or their mama ran a restaurant and they want to run a restaurant, or whatever the reason that they've always dreamed of having this type of facility. Well, we think we can facilitate that. And for example, if the initial investment was $300,000, to use a number, and we would tell them, well, if you can raise $150,000, we can provide another $150,000 to get your initial cost of $300,000. But we have to pre-approve your pro forma and your spreadsheet. We got to make sure you know your cost of goods and what your fixed operating costs and all this kind of stuff. And the young gentleman looks at me, he said, Mr. Hall, if I had $150,000, I'd be in Miami Beach. I wouldn't be trying to open a restaurant here. But we can figure out ways a lot of times how to, they provide money, maybe their uncle can loan them some money, we loan them, and then the bank's in a position to loan them some money. So, we like that concept of facilitating other people's vision or their dream, while I'm not acting philanthropically. I'm trying to do the right thing for the property, because if I'm a good steward of the property, I will make money for sure. So, that's the problem or the program that we have that the mayor mentioned that I did want to address. There's no bad properties, they're just bad owners. The program will be good stewardship, and if we keep our eye on that, it's always different. The property is unique. Columbus is unique. There's no two properties or no two markets that are the same, and we do want to think about what we're doing in Columbus as a retail corridor. we're not interested just in our property. We're gonna get our property where it looks and it feels like a great property and a great gateway property, but we want the same thing to happen all the way up Highway 45. And there's an old saying in the real estate business, it's very counterintuitive. It says it's more important the tenant you don't have than the tenant you do have. Because these tenants, they are attracted to a property that looks and feels a certain way. And if you maintain very high standards, and they know they're not going to denigrate their brand, they're much more likely to select Columbus as a market they want to be versus a property that has tenants that they don't want to really have co-tenancy. So we've got a fairly strong situation to work with the Ross, the Ulta. We're starting the Five Below. I told the mayor, I guess he's announced it, or maybe not, maybe we're announcing it today. But then we'll have other national tenants. But we've got a big piece of property, and there are a lot of different things that we could go about. And so in the real estate business, the time to do additional development is when you have somebody interested in doing it. It takes two to dance. So we'll have an immediate impact. We'll have a great property. You know, we started in 2019, as I said. We got delayed by the pandemic. That put us behind a little bit. But now we're back on track. I expect that in late summer we're going to be doing a lot of, we already started architectural design, and we'll be doing you know, asbestos abatement and other stuff like that. And by early fall, if not late summer, we'll, you know, you'll see the bulldozers, you know, on the ground. So we think we had planned a multi-phase redevelopment effort, and what that means is we're going to start out by turning the mall inside out. So the major tenants will have exterior storefronts with exterior doors, and their back door will go into the mall corridor. And on the other side of the mall corridor, we'll still have shops and things of that nature. The budget for the project initially is $20 million. And to me, that's an astounding amount of money to spend on a project. And also, it's what I would deem a sacrificial expenditure, because with tenants, you don't really get any more rent if you got a good roof. You know, they're going to pay you $10 a foot or $15 a square foot. And, you know, you say, oh man, I got some better landscaping. I want to get 15 and a quarter. You know, so these things, to make this really aesthetically coherent gateway property, is not easily recaptured in additional rent. It helps you get the right tenant, but you have to build on that, and a large part of that is the tenant sales, and how, if we can get successful tenants, everything will take care of itself. And again, I'm here just to make money, but it happens the way to make a lot of money is to have a successful property that looks good, that will attract the kind of tenants that we want, and all of a sudden that takes on a life of its own, and then people give you too much credit. And that's what we hope to be. You know, I think that one of the basic underlining principles is the alignment we talked about, because, you know, y'all are too smart, I guess we're too smart. It has to be a win-win type deal. And I believe, I'm sold that this is going to be in our best interest, and it's going to be in the community's best interest and the citizens' best interest. So that's a solid foundation, and we can see where it takes us. But, you know, we're putting in the money. The city has facilitated and helped us. So, and the county. I mean, you know, I have to mention the county because they've been a big part of that. And we appreciate the county being involved. Because we, you know, and what a great thing for the city and the county to be working together. And I'll tell you another thing that's really interesting about this is we go to some communities where the government is dysfunctional and our property values don't enhance. We, with a good government, we do a lot better, and the government does a lot better. It's a self-fulfilling virtuous cycle because the government is going to initially get a couple $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 in ad valorem taxes and sales taxes, and that's going to grow. I mean, why wouldn't everybody do this? Because it pays for itself. So the government has the county and the city, and everybody we've worked with in the city has helped us get to this point. And now, you know, it's time for us to catch this ball, run real fast, and score a touchdown. So that's what we're looking to do, and we appreciate it, Mr. Mayor, and we can take any questions and that anybody would like to.
And let me say this, when you ask Mr. Hull a question, identify yourself too, please.
Bill Strauss, how you get started?
Fine.
Glad to have you in the community. I got a question. You mentioned that you're gonna have openings out the back from the front stores, and then the others will just remain. Did you not consider maybe turning the back out also?
Well, we did consider it, and yeah, and we,
got nice, you know, the bypass is right back there.
yeah, no, the 82 bypass is
Right.
very important artery, you know, arguably the most important artery in the community.
Right.
And we've got a huge piece of land there. We've been working with Chick-fil-A right now on their expanding their drive-thrus, and which, you know, they can announce they might do, might not. I would suggest they need it, a lot more capacity there. And then it just goes on. You know, we've got where the theater and several of the shops were, that's like a 16,000-foot node, okay? The penny boxes will probably go all the depth that there's existing, okay? So you really don't have an outward-facing thing there. Then you've got the facility currently owned by Burke's, and that could be a outward, you know, facing facility. Although, you know, to keep that mall entry and to have that mall corridor, and with construction costs and development costs, what they are today, you know, it costs $70 a foot to build a warehouse. And this is much more functional space. I mean, they have their interior walls, they have a bathroom, they can do the configuration. I mean, it's a great asset, but we haven't, you know, we're gonna focus on the front, get a nice power center. We're gonna keep the back, and then, you know, that's to be a good steward of the property, you certainly want to develop the back as much as you want to develop the front. So, you know, to be a good steward, you know, and like, for example, the roof, we're going to do the roof over the back and the front.
Sure.
And we're going to do the paving. Do we do paving all around or just seal coating in the back?
We're doing seal coating and striping and a mixture of overlay and seal coating and striping throughout.
Okay, so throughout. So, but that would be the long-term plan to, you know, use every inch of the property as we can figure out, you know, demand. And the demand thing is sort of, you know, easy really, because nobody up here is a magician and, you know, has these magical powers to bring people to Columbus. But inevitably, there'll be an opportunity. And so we do pride ourselves that once there's an opportunity, we know how, we've got a long track record of once there's an opportunity being able to consummate, because these guys are tough guys, these retailers. And so we really you have to have a lot of wows. And does anybody know the definition of wows? Wows is devious stratagems. You gotta have a lot of wows to deal with these tenants. And but it's all fun. It's great property, and we are enamored and going to be a steward of every inch of it, inside, outside, back, all the way. We worked a good bit this morning on the 82 bypass and how the landscaping's there and what's the DOT been doing and not doing, and how the drainage ditch, because it's a visual thing. And I think we've got some pictures of signage that we're proposing on the bypass as well as Highway 45 out front.
We had a question submitted online. When would the work start and how long would it take?
Well, we're starting now. We're spending pretty good money right now. We will have physical work starting in the late summer, which will constitute what you have to do to get your building permit. They require you do notifications to the state on asbestos. You have to do a lot of testing, environmental testing. The building inspector has to approve the building plans for safety codes, building codes. So all that's going on. I would think, and the Five Below, which is, coming as you face Ross to the right, you'll see that work, I think, immediately.
Yes, the work, so the in-house work of asbestos in the Five Below space is going on over the next 3 weeks through the middle of July, and then Five Below will be starting their work, and the facade work will be taking place in August.
And then our work should start, we'll be doing all the work that they're doing now, and our facade and construction work would start in the fall.
In the fall.
Right.
In the fall. We'll be doing stuff that a lot of people won't be seeing out, behind the walls and, in the spaces to get them ready between interior demo, asbestos surveys. We're working on the plans fully right now. And by the fall, we'll be starting, and then by summer of next year, we'll see everything come together.
Sir, is there any, I'm Sheree Labat, I'm the superintendent of the schools here, but.
I'm sorry, I missed you.
Sheree Labat.
Hi.
So,
She's the superintendent of schools.
I was thinking about like Starkville, West Point. Are there any thoughts about how we can bring retailers that differentiate ourselves from the other big cities around, so somebody would solely come to Columbus to shop?
Well, my experience is that to have this really powerful retail offering that looks and feels a certain way is the best way to attract another retailer, particularly if you have the space. For example, as you face the Hobby Lobby to the right, we could probably do a 30, 35,000, maybe even up to 40,000 foot grocer, okay? Now that grocer might be looking at Columbus right now, but saying, Starkville's got a little better situation, and maybe I'm gonna go to LaGrange, Georgia. But these retailers, okay, and I'm on tape, right? These retailers are in some extent lazy. And I'm just joking. No.
You gotta do it for them.
And, so if we have a ready-made offering, okay, and it's easy for them to come to the right of Hobby Lobby. They've got the right co-tenancy with all the people that they want. They like the TJ Maxx. They like the Ross store. They like the Five Below. They like the Ulta. So that's who they want. And so that speaks modern, and it's all together. And particularly if we can work on that corridor, you know, where our motels are, and this concept that it's more important who you don't have, that goes really for Billings too, because we don't want the Billings, if it's failed, the business has failed, we don't want it to go to a third generation or a fourth generation business. There's nothing wrong with a third or fourth generation business, but there are other places they can go. What we want in our corridor, our main corridor, we want tenants that represent first-class, national, modern is the word I was really looking for, modern retailers, new speak, and how that corridor looks. We've got an interest in every property, and particularly a property who's in the hands of not so good of a steward. You know, and oftentimes it's just a matter of, you know, the economics are not the problem of the not so good steward, because he's going to get, you know, $1,500 a month for this tenant that is a third generation use, whereas if we convince him to tear down the property and to have a retail offering, he might could get $400,000 for the lot. It would generate him $30,000 a year. So are you telling me not only are we going to have a much nicer looking development, but the property owner's going to make money in this? And so the community has an interest in that retail corridor from a development standpoint, from a regional standpoint. You know, if you live across the street and you don't have any choice, it doesn't matter. But if you've got a choice to go to Starkville or come to here or something, you know, I mean, if you're going to go, you know, to buy a mink coat, you might need to go to Atlanta or something. But if you want to buy socks, you know, or a nice shirt, we ought to be able to do that right here. And to have that first-class offer. And I'll tell you something else about it, and this is really an important thing. Here's what I've learned. Poor people, they like nice stuff too. How about that? You know, and so it doesn't matter really what your income level is. Everybody appreciates a nice property. And you know, today's world, everything's got to be competitively priced, which is why Walmart does so good. So, you know, I think that's the key to being it's really counterintuitive. To be a unique center, and all real estate's unique because they're all different. There's never two shopping centers that are the same. But to be what you're referring to, that unique, prominent, prestigious property, it's more important how we are disciplined, how we're steady, and how when we have opportunity, we can, you know how to do it and get the tenant in there. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Yes, my name is LaVon Nathan Harris, and by listening to what you said, the tenant that you're looking at to come to your retail establishment, approximately how many tenants are you looking at for the mall?
I think right now we've got, what, 12 or something?
That's right.
They got 12 that, and let me, and madam, what was your last name?
Harris.
Ms. Harris, let me tell you about these tenants, okay? It used to be that we said, you know, we had a deal when we had a signed lease, okay? We had a signed lease and we had a deal. So many of them defaulted and changed their mind and all this kind of razzmatazz that we started saying, well, we know we have a deal when the building's coming up, when the foundations, when they're out there working. That's when we got a deal. Then these guys would still slip away and do all this kind of stuff. So now we say we have a tenant when they're stocking the store, okay? And until then, we're real skeptical and pragmatic and, you know, all this razzmatazz, because we know we have the property, okay? I can tell you that's a great property. It's had bad ownership. And I can tell you this is a viable economic region, okay, with a really an upward slant, okay? And compared, you think we got problems in Columbus, you ought to see the other problem. I mean, we're in good shape. So, you know, and so we're gonna do our thing. We're gonna be very disciplined. They're gonna have to beg us to come to our property. You know, but seriously, they're gonna, I'm not, you know, they gotta prove to me why they're a good tenant. And I'm gonna be very selective. And the result of that discipline and selectiveness over a 10-year period makes something great, right? But there's just no way to do it, you know, just magically. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and you know, we're not that smart, I can promise you that. And so that's the plan. And I think, here's one thing that I learned, okay? If somebody can't explain it to you, there's one reason. You know, y'all are perfectly intelligent people. If you don't understand it, what I'm saying, it means I don't understand it. If somebody can't explain it to you in a way you can understand it, it only means they don't understand it. And we went through all that in 2008 with all those Wall Street guys who sold us all this bill of goods. And the problem was they didn't understand it. So, I mean, I think, you know, y'all know the plan. And let me just say this about all that. The community knows the plan. The government knows the plan. The citizens know the plan. Now it's our problem. It's just not ours because we all know the plan. We're empowered with what we're going to do. And, you know, can we tweak this, or is there an opportunity here, or how that works? Well, we all know, and we can follow it and track it and all such as that.
Dr. Verdell, the director of Columbus Light and Water, had a question for you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Columbus Light and Water. I just wanted to know who would be the point of contact for working with your group for any energy efficiency needs that you might have. As you know, we partner with TVA, and there are several programs that you may be able to take advantage of. And I just want to say that I am super excited that you're here. That has been part of my marching orders for a little while now. Just really, that's the battle cry. We needed to have more economic development in the area. So I'm happy that you're here, and even happier to be able to assist you with any of your energy efficiency needs that you have.
We appreciate that, and we're going to take you up on it. There's two main people. One is Mr. Johnson right here, and then we also have a lady that is more in the air conditioning efficiency idea, but they'll work together, and they're going to work very closely with you, you know, on that. So that's a smart thing for us to do. You want to talk about that, Rob, for a second?
Well, we're always interested in how can we, you know, build a better mousetrap, so to speak, and energy efficiency is a big part of that, how we can work with the local municipality and the public services, if you will, that are around the area, so that we can figure out how to do that. Each area, there's a lot of things in the nation that are sort of along the same lines, but each municipality is different and has, you know, different opportunities available. So we're always interested in that, just like we are with trades and contractors in the area. We're interested in the local, you know, things we have nowadays with construction costs and everybody being so busy. It comes down a lot of times just to the schedule and how can we arrange everybody's schedule to meet. So it's a task every day, but you know, we look forward to working with you.
And the city council and the county, they held our feet to the fire pretty good on this incentive because we work with them because we're not getting nearly what we would have expected. So I hope that, you know, in the energy savings that we can make that up a little bit. So thank you. We look forward to working with you.
Likewise.
Okay, it'll be fun.
I have a question over here.
My name's Gina Harrison from Trent, and are you, with your vision, is there going to be restaurants, food courts? I love the idea of a little market, but is there anything else? I know you don't.
Ms. Hildebrand, you know, yes, Gina, you know, we have 4 out parcels, and like somebody was commenting today, I have no idea, but you know, they said, wouldn't Panera Bread be a good tenant for this market, you know, and I don't know, Gina doesn't like Panera Bread.
No,
That's-
that's fine, but I'm talking about restaurants.
Chipotle, I'm billing 3 Chipotles right now.
That's great, but I mean a restaurant.
Yeah, a restaurant, a real
Yeah.
sit-down
And they
restaurant.
are restaurants, sorry.
Well, you know, I think for a real sit-down restaurant, you know, your Longhorns is already here, and you have that kind of steak play. And, you know, I would think that maybe that should be a local kind of deal. Somebody who's got a passion for food, who really wants to have that, who has connections to Columbus, you know, who wants to be here, and that we could help, you know, get into co-invest and get him into business. You know, I don't know, you know, the Red Lobsters and the Olive Gardens, they're still doing a little something, Olive Garden is. But,
It used to be a town of good restaurants, a long time, I grew up here. And we do have some good ones, but, and, sorry, digging myself in the hole. Something other than a chain or a stand, you know, just.
so that really gets into, and I'm with you, you know, and I think it's fabulous, and I don't understand why there's not more. If you told me, if I was 27 years old, that you could help me get into business,
Yeah.
and, you know, and how do I do that? I would be, you know, really want to pursue that opportunity. But, you know, we'll just have to see what again, you know, we're looking for people who are motivated or passionate, people who are succeeding on the internet, but they want a physical presence. We're looking for people who have a connection to Columbus. You know, I mean, for these, you know, either you're a national chain, it doesn't matter where you're from, but if you're, you know, somebody that we're going to co-invest with, we want you to have probably pretty deep roots here in the community. Yes, Mr.
Dr. Stewart, I'm City Councilman here in Columbus. First of all, Mr. Hull, I want to thank you and your group for bringing business to our city. We are really excited about it. And I noticed on your silhouette here, you have a lot of names of retail. Are those retails that will actually be coming, or those just?
Well, we hope they are. I mean, you know, we've, you know, like Bath and Body, we own like 40 of their stores, and we think it's well conceived. Okay, what are they going to stay in the belly of the mall? I mean, you know, I mean, either they're going to probably have to leave the market or go out front. So we think it's very well conceived, and you know, we you know, they all have a certain rental formula. We know what that formula is. You know, same thing with Cato, Claire's, Route 21, Shoe Department. You know, we have multiple of these tenants. The maker and the merchant, that may or may not be something that we're going to bring to fruition. That's a business that's is fairly high end, and I think the people would like it, but it depends on a bunch of different merchants. In other words, one store, but you have 30 different merchants, and a lot of people who are maker community, where they're making the goods, and people who are succeeding on sourcing goods over the internet. And so that you come in and you might lease a table that size. And then, but what they do, it's a very high-end vaulted ceilings and all this kind of stuff on, you know, really high-end finishes. And then they put all that together where it's a fabulous store. And you never know, it's a collection of what you do if you ask enough. But, I mean, we don't try to hide it. But, you know, but that one is a little more speculative than the rest of them. So, you know, Hobby
Well,
Lobby.
It depends on what kind of makers are in the region, you know, that you can fill it out.
There at the mall, there's a building, used to be the Sears building in front of the mall. Is this part of your redevelopment program?
Yeah, you know, we're sort of talking about it. You know, I just add here, Hibbett's there, Five Below, we've signed the lease, they're underway. Dollar Tree, I would imagine they're not going to leave. I think that we ought to bite the and tear down that Sears Automotive, or the facility that was formerly occupied as a Sears Automotive. It's a 20,000 square foot building. And, you know, it's probably cost you $1 million or more to replace it. And, but people are visual, and if we don't tear it down, they're just not gonna get it. You know, it's gonna look like it's a remodeling of a, you know, you still got this sort of down market building. So, economically, it's probably not the smart thing to do. You'd probably say, well, let's wait and see who shows up. You know, as soon as we tear it down, somebody's gonna wanna come in there and pay us $12 a foot, and that's $240,000. You know, we'd like to have that money. But I think for the property and the redevelopment that we ought to go ahead and tear it down, sort of more at the end of the project maybe. And like we talked about, we're gonna have 4 of the out parcels, and then we already own 2 other ones, which is the Hardee's and the bank, and also the transition between us and the Ross Center. You know, we need to get that sort of where it all plays as one big center, and I think that's gonna make it, you know, look and feel, you know, more of what you were talking about.
Mr. Hull, the last time you were here, you talked a little bit about landscaping and safety around the mall. Could you speak to that a little bit too?
Yeah, I can. And I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. The safety, I was in there talking to the security guard this morning, and golly, I think it was Monica.
It's Monica.
Yeah, Monica. And she said that, you know, that the really only problem in the mall right now is with the stores, is, you know, these shoplifters. There's no problem other than the shoplifting, the stealing. To which I told her that, you know, I asked her, Monica, I said, did she know a police chief? Because, you know, the one thing we rely on government for is providing law and order. And, you know, we can't provide law and order. That's a government function. And, you know, the Lowndes County and the city of Columbus has to have law and order. And we're a law and order people, and we prosecute. We will not allow loitering. We will not allow people on the property who are not shopping. We're interested in creating a first-class shopping environment. And, you know, yeah, I know a lot about kids. I was a kid, and I hung out. And, you know, the thing about kids is if you hassle them, they'll go somewhere else. And so we hassle them. We don't want them on the property if they're not buying. It's my property. I believe in law and order. And, you know, that's the way I run it. And I believe that we pay the taxes. Hopefully we're going to end up paying $500,000 a year or $800,000 a year. And we want the police chief to have cars out there. We want a regular presence. We think it's important for the community that this is, you know, we've got law and order, and this is a spot. You know, and that's a question all around the country. You know, people are getting spooked, and we want law and order, and there's nothing wrong in saying that. Now, as to the landscaping, what we want to have is long lines of sight. Ladies, they drive SUVs. The reason they drive SUVs, a lot of ladies, is they like to know what the heck's going on. They like to be up there where they can see. Ladies and men, they don't like shadows, they don't like overgrowth and what's behind the overgrowth. So what we want to do is take it all out, start with a clean canvas, and you know, not all the trees, but with the undergrass. And there's nothing wrong with green grass. You have color plantings. You want it to be coherent. You don't want it to be without a plan, just happenstance. But a visual landscaping that is attractive, whatever your configuration, you know it. You know when somebody cares about the property and is taking care of it. And I'll just end with this. In property management, you're either improving or you're declining. You cannot stay equal. Property management's the toughest job, but what you gotta do is improve it every day, just a little tiny bit, just a little bit. So you're improving, you're not going down. You can't stay equal. So if we can have that mindset of improving it every day, you know, I think the landscaping's important as we're spending all this money on the facades and the columns and the brick and, you know, I mean, we gotta, you know, maintain our investment. And again, yeah, the reason all this stuff is because we're here trying to feather our own nest. I mean, it's in our best interest to do all this.
One thing to add on to that is the parking lot lighting, you know, safety, landscape, it all sort of works together. So a big part of this project is going to be the improvement of actually repoling and relamping and you know, making it bright
and that's a great
and safe.
point, you know, because the lighting as well as new lights and, you know, lumens, you want consistent lighting. You don't want dark, bright. And so you have to plan that. That's even inside a property or outside. And so lighting's, you know, a big part of it.
And one more question, Jim.
Yeah, kind of a two-part question. Will you be keeping the same square footage in the mall, or will any be removed other than what you said, maybe the Aldi's or what grocery store coming? And the second question is, you've got there's a piece of property that sits, I guess, directly to the west of your property. I don't know if you control that. It's the old gas station. What,
Yeah.
is there any?
To the west is towards Highway 45?
Yes.
Yeah.
The old gas station.
Yeah, no, I know where you're talking about.
I don't know if y'all control that or if there's any
No,
plans
Mr.
to that.
Gillis owns
It's
that.
certainly an eyesore
Yeah.
for your property.
He's been, you know, saying he's got a couple things going on. He's aware of it.
Yeah.
We'd like to control it, and but Mr. Gillis is a very capable operator, and you know, at the right time, he'll do the right thing. And so, you know, on either side of that is vacant property, and it's sort of a devilish thing, because if we go ahead and get interest on the out part, I mean, in theory, the best thing to do is shut down old Albertine and make it all coherent from Highway 45. But, you know, sometimes, that's why all property is unique. Sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. To the right of Mr. Gillis's property, we own that land, so we control that. To the left of it, we have a first option to purchase. So I think de facto, we control that. But, you know, should we think about closing old Albertine and making the, you know, and it provides a bigger parking field for the mall, and your out parcels are more valuable up on the road? Would it really, in the long run, cost anything? It might even make money. I don't know. But, you know, it's just tough when you got different property owners. We're in America. We believe in private property rights, and everybody, you know, has those rights. And you remember the thing about the farmer? He said, I don't want to own all the land. I just want to own what's next door to me.
Can I just dig myself out of that hole? I'm not against, I feel bad, Chipotle, and we need
No,
those
no.
anchor
Yeah.
stores.
Yeah.
So that-
Yeah, sure. No, we're for the same thing. We're for the same. I think it's to have a, you know, unique, original type food offering is, you know, something we ought to aspire for.
Jim, you had mentioned earlier this, it's gonna be sort of a multi-phased, you know, project, so sort of lay out maybe what the phases are. You know, the first phase is the transformation and flipping it inside out. And as part of that phase, you're gonna have you know, the facades, then the roof, and all that's gonna be done. The third phase, I'll jump down one phase, that's the roof. So once you start going up with parapet walls and you recreate those new facades, you'll do the roofs sort of simultaneously, if you will. And then, you know, the second phase of that is sort of backfilling those tenants. And that's market driven, right? You know, whatever the tenant is, then you'll spend the money to build out their store. And you would hope it all would happen at the same time. It never does. So that's sort of a different, separate phase, but it will be market driven. And sort of the experience that we've seen is you know, once you prove that the property is viable, it's a viable going concern. You've got this new look and feel. You've done all the aesthetic improvements. You've got this nice, beautiful facade work and these new tenants in there. Then you're going to start to attract that interest in those out parcels. And typically it sort of comes in that order. And then as to your point about the rear, I think that could be considered even another phase, if you will. Again, it's all market driven, but once you solidify the property as the best place to be, and again, it's great dirt. I mean, it's a gateway property in a good progressive community, right? So you would think, you know, once we start making these improvements, you'll see that demand, that market demand continue to grow until you fill it up.
Yeah, and I'm not sure how progressive the community is, but we've got good political leadership, which we've been able to work with. And to me, that's a leading indicator, because every time we do that, we have a good result. Every time we have problems with the community leadership, then it doesn't seem that the project does nearly as well. And the other thing you were talking about was the phases.
Just the phases, yeah.
Yeah.
Could y'all tell them a little bit about how you potentially try to recruit different retailers here? What process y'all go through to do that?
The first thing is to have a great retail offering. And the second thing is for us to understand the corridor, up and down the corridor, because that's how the retailer's going to look at it. He's not going to look at it as one property. He wants to know how Belk's doing. He's going to want to know what the sales of Dick's are. You know, he's going to look at everything. He's going to look at that movie theater. And, you know, so every bit of it. And so, you know, you talk their lingo and, you know, we're really competing with, you know, there's some things that they've told Wall Street they're going to open 120 stores. It's like, well, you know, they can't open 120 stores unless they pay a fair amount of rent. You know, if they want to be the bottom feeder, well, how are they going to open 120 stores? But they're going to test you. They're going to test you on, you know, trying to muscle you around on that.
Right. Well, I mentioned to y'all, I called y'all right away when I heard this, but when Ross Dress for Less opened here, it's been about 2 months now, I went out to their grand opening on Saturday to help them cut the ribbon. Well, they told me that on that prior Friday, they had a soft opening. And there were 5 other Rosses that opened up around the country, I think in Virginia and California and other places. Columbus's was the most successful in the country. They made more that Friday on a soft opening, and they told me the amount, and it was nice, but they asked me not to say it, so I won't. But they said it was by far even larger than what they did in California and places, and that's where they're located. So that tells me, and that's why I called y'all immediately, is that Columbus is a great location for retail and will be quite successful. And I will say this, Mayor Spruill, when I was in Starkville recently visiting on campus, a lot of my old friends at Mississippi State told me that they still have to drive to Columbus to find good places to shop. So Columbus still has, and there's somebody shaking their head in agreement. So there's great potential in Columbus. The fact that we have people here from so many different walks of life and leadership roles that are interested in talking to y'all, I think is a good indicator that this mall is going to be very successful and bringing other retail into the area. So I'm going to, did you have a question? Oh, okay. So we can take as many more questions as you like, and I'm glad that y'all are doing this. I'm glad people are tuning in. They can watch it later and get in touch with us, but we really want to have the citizens' input on what type of retail we attract here and how we can all work together to make Columbus even more successful than it already is.
Do you plan to keep that interior corridor? I know you get a lot of foot traffic with people walking in there, and I know it's been used, they've been very good citizens in the past. They've held health fairs and job fairs there, and Santa Claus has
This is
been...
Missy Younger, she's the
Yeah, oh, I know.
I'm sorry,
and Missy,
Yeah, I
Trent
know
Kelly's
Missy.
office,
Yeah,
okay.
the Congress lady. But, you know, I'm interested on a ladies shopping experience. And, you know, we had this question come up in another mall, and because we raised the opening of the mall to 10 o'clock, because, you know, I don't want to pay for it from 8 to 10. And so this nice gentleman, very nice, he said, look here. He said, I got a bone to pick from you. You know, we use your mall and to walk, but we're very loyal customers. And I said, well, look here, sir. I said, Walmart has just announced that they got a walk-in program in the Walmart. And he said, well, they'll make me buy something. So, you know, people vote with their feet. They want good low prices. That's what they want. And so, you know, how do you match up those dynamics? And so what we're trying to do is what's accretive to a woman's shopping experience. And that woman we're talking about is from 5 to 95. We don't really care that much about the men. But because they'll follow the women, you know, food would be more to attract them. But you know, there are some tough decisions, you know, because these malls are broke, and the reason they're broke is they can't afford to do all that, and so it's a thin line, and you know, so that's what we want to have is, and back to the mayor's point, because I think it's worth commenting on, and it's very counterintuitive. Tenants mostly go by other tenant sales, okay? Most of their underwriting, I mean, they're going to do a population analysis, but most of it bears down on what, and they know what a Ross store does. If it's normally doing, the average store's doing $300 a foot or $275, and we got a $400 a foot store. Well, to me, that would mean, well, they're doing 400, maybe I ought to go somewhere that's doing 150, because then I can get more sales. But that's not how it works. They want to, like a grocer wants to be next door to the best grocery store in the market, okay? And they talk, all of them talk, they know these sales volumes, and they know the other sales volumes up and down the road, and so that's how they qualify, you know, this market. And so that's what we got to do. We got to get sales up. However we can get sales up, that's the ball for us to hit. However, whatever I can do to get that 5 below, you know, up, that's what is the most important thing.
So with this, I'm just, you know, I ask the stupid questions, but Walmart and Kroger, are they nervous that you're coming in, or some of our stores, will this make them step up to the plate a little bit more, or add to it?
No, I mean, you know, people give you too little credit. They give you, you know, if we pull off a good center, it has the kind of look and feel and impact that I'm talking about, yeah, you know, Belk's going to have to raise their game, right? They're going to have to make it more visually attractive, and they may or may not. A lot of times you got, you know, a New York investor that owns the property, and it's just another property, a pension fund. They don't, you know, and they got a lazy regional manager. I mean, you don't know all the reasons. That's why the county and the city can help us. Because, you know, it should be, you know, we should be tracking all that and jawboning people on the corridor that don't have a first-class presentation. We should at least know who they are and what their intention is. I mean, you know, what is their goal or vision for their property? We have an interest. We have an interest in everything on that corridor how it looks, how it feels. And, you know, I believe in free property rights, but that doesn't mean I can't ask. And it doesn't mean if they've got a trash all over the parking lot, I can't say, you gotta pick this up. You know, we can have standards. And, you know, that's what I think. You know, we ought to work on it with the corridor in mind, you know. And that's how we attract other tenants, is if we get a Burlington code, and then because Burlington came, another DD's came, and then, you know, some other, I mean, it all feeds off itself. And it's how the corridor looks and what the sales volume is of the existing tenants. And that's how, you know, they determine whether they're gonna keep the same store, whether they'll remodel or whether they expand. It's all based on those sales volumes, a lot of which is, you know, out of our hand. But if we have that coherent corridor, you know, I think it'll really benefit us. And you know, and we're dedicated or you know, committed to working with the city. We like the city leadership. They're tough on us, but you know, we think we can get some stuff done.
Sir, go ahead.
Yeah, just for my clarification.
And the county leadership, excuse me.
Just for clarification, could you define where the corridor begins and where it ends?
I think it begins about with where we are. I would hope we could, you know, again, the property and the good stewards. I don't know who owns that game stuff, and it's, you know, and the motels and then, but that's really where it starts, and it goes down to the movie theater, approximately, you know, a little bit, maybe real. Which, by the way, is a very short corridor. Maybe it's a mile and a half, maybe a mile and a quarter. A lot of communities would have 2.5 miles or 3 miles. So critical mass is very important. We're blessed. It's a blessing to have all our retail right together. And if we make it look and feel a certain way, we play big under the basket, you know, then that attracts these retailers.
That would be down to the Magnolia Bowl, Joe, going that way.
You know, and another idea we hadn't talked about it. See, you got the hospital, you know, that ought to be a hospital type district, you know, and then you got the retail corridor. We ought to maybe do some identifying, you know, how do you identify it? Whether do we do it through, you know, some kind of signage, or do we do it through some kind of planning, but something that identifies this as, Lowndes County, the City of Columbus.
Best shopping district in America.
Yeah, I mean, you know, which we, you know, and we got to work on it. I mean, that's, you know, it's not going to happen unless we go out there and get others to join in with us. You know, other property owners on the corridor. What are they going to do and why? And then, you know, can we motivate them to do the right thing, the better stewardship, which is in their financial best interest?
Well, sir, you're 1,000% right about the corridor, because I'm a longtime resident of Columbus, and I'm a downtown guy, so, you know, but anyway.
I'm a downtown.
Yeah, both, as goes the downtown, so goes the town.
Let's talk about that, because I'm telling you, I'm a downtown supporter.
I hear you.
You know, I mean, I'll contribute. I'm a downtown. What we gotta have, you know, a TJ Maxx store is not appropriate for downtown, okay? But we gotta have a vibrant downtown and a vibrant retail corridor with big box tenants, okay? Or national and so, but we gotta have both for us to, you know, be what we wanna be.
Well, thanks to Barbara, who's our Main Street manager, we have a vibrant downtown. We've got lots of
Yeah, I was going
but anyway,
tell Ms. Hildebrand about these restaurants I heard you got down there coming.
Well, we got some good restaurants.
Yeah, that's what I was.
But getting back to the corridor, and I hate to say this, but I've been here for a long time, and the 45 corridor you're talking about is absolutely nasty. The other verses don't pick up trash. I ate it, I hate to mention the restaurant, but it's where Ashley and all that is. I went back, I ate at one of the restaurants, their mugshots. And I went out and there was so much trash in the parking lot. I went back in and I got the manager because, you know, I said, hey, we had a great deal, but your parking lot's absolutely disgusting. And I said, you know, it's up to each merchant to take care of their part. He said, well, you know, they're supposed to clean it up for us. We pay the rent, they're supposed to clean up. I said, you know, I had a business for a long time. If someone doesn't clean it up, it's your business. You have to take care of your own business out front at least. And I mean, so, you know, maybe the city, you know, mayor, maybe the city can encourage these people. I think if someone would just talk to them, because it's not just there. The movie theater, I went to the movie theater, Top Gun's a great show, by the way. Saw the movie the other day, walk out, same thing. If you drive through their parking lot, absolutely disgusting. And these are the main areas of town where people are coming in and they're seeing. And these guys are building a brand new, well, not brand new, but almost brand new. You know, it is important that the whole area,
Well,
you know, looks good.
here's what we're talking. Municipalities, they got a lot of needs, okay?
Sure.
And maybe cleaning up a restaurant parking lot ain't the highest.
No, well, that's not their job.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm trying to say, for Tripp and Keith to have a communication that if you can get the result without spending money, that's what I'm talking about, a culture where, because they ain't really got, they got to align their priorities, but this culture that we use some officialdom to, you know, and get a like-minded and at least let, you know, if he's got a landlord, let's talk to the landlord. You know, but it's going to be a hell of a lot more coming from Tripp than it is coming from me or coming from his official than it is coming from me. So, you know, but that's what, you know, if you and I own the property, you know, I guarantee you go out to my property today, you could eat off the floor. But they knew, you know, we were coming. They've been working on it for a half a week.
We cutting grass all day yesterday.
Yeah, but, you know, it's just, and it's everyday. Property management is the toughest. I mean, it's a thankless job. Nobody thanks you if it's done well, but they'll sure criticize you, you know.
Yes, sir.
Matt Logue, I'm curious on your thoughts on private investment in electric vehicle charging, and if you have plans for that associated with this property.
You know, Tesla has paid us. I think we've got a couple of charging stations, and they pay us a fee, and they come in and they set up those stations, and yeah, I would think that's a property right that we have that we'd like to monetize. Just like a service station, we wouldn't, you know, they'd have to pay for the property right. That's how I put breakfast on the table. I like my breakfast. But, you know, it's a property right, and we'd lease it to them.
Matt and Amy Bogue, or they're related to Mr. Gillis. Have you met them, Matt and Amy Bogue?
Oh, no, okay. Are you Mr. Gillis's daughter?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, great. Well, I spoke to Mr. Gillis. We traded message. I guess he's in Raleigh today. So that's great. Well, I'm glad I didn't say anything bad.
Can't do that in Columbus.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's a great guy. And your granddaddy as well.
Any other questions? Then we'll go ahead and sign off on the formal meeting, but please stick around if you have questions. If you want to talk some more to us, please do. And thank you all for coming.
Okay, thank y'all.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.